For this guide video, we're going to be looking at Aspect of Artemis, which is actually the aspect that got me my first Hades 2 win, so it's kind of an old favorite of mine in a way. And in kind of amusing fashion, right, by going from the aspect of Circe in the last video to the aspect of Artemis in this one, we're going from what was an extremely strong weapon, probably a top 3 weapon in the game, to what is maybe a bottom 3 weapon in the game. But before you click off the video, I do think Aspect of Artemis has some selling points, but this is more from a fun factor than from a, beat the game as efficiently as possible factor, right? So what is the selling point of Aspect of Artemis? Well, the selling point is basically that you get to use the extremely pleasurable baseline movement of the daggers, right? The baseline attack power of the daggers, but you get to combine it with crit, right? The way that Aspect of Artemis works is that when Mel has her parry recharge, she can hold her Omega attack to create this kind of barrier around her, and then when somebody hits her, which is something we cannot simulate here, she will riposte, and then she will get 50% crit on 9 attack strikes. And 50% crit is pretty incredible, right? This is essentially a double damage. Well, yeah, it's essentially double damage, right? And so you might be thinking, well, okay, double damage is pretty crazy. Why is this aspect not good? And the answer is basically that, first, the daggers themselves have some problems, just in terms of the fact that their range is incredibly short. So as you're playing on max fear, you're going to just discover that it's a struggle to clear rooms quickly enough to beat the timer, and it's a struggle to stay safe. But the other thing is that the daggers are a rapid attacking weapon, and if you've watched the damage guide video, or if you've played Hades 2 enough, then you probably know that rapid attacking weapons want on-hit effects, flat on-hit effects, so things like Poseidon or especially Hestia. And the unfortunate thing is that Artemis's crit doesn't work with Hestia's Scorch, right? It only works for the attack strike. And so Artemis is trying to incentivize you to use a percentage god on a low base damage weapon, which is maybe not optimal. And so the only real god that really works here is Aphrodite, right? Aphrodite offers us a ton of percent damage, which will get multiplied by our crit, but also, importantly, she offers us Secret Crush, right? Secret Crush gives us more baseline power, and considering the fact that our daggers are pretty low base power weapons, adding even a little bit of base power, adding even like 9 base power, can multiply our damage by like 1.5, so it's pretty considerable. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the aspect of Artemis does have an alternate playstyle, a cheesier playstyle, which is to try to use it with the Omega attack. So you parry, you Omega attack, then you go for another parry and Omega attack, and the Omega attacks, of course, have higher base damage, so they make more sense with a percentage god, and they make more sense with the crit, right? You only get crit for 9 strikes, so you want it to be on your heaviest strikes possible. The problem is that the Omega attacks aren't that good, and they're a little bit slow and a little bit clunky, and it's very easy to take damage while you're trying to lock on this little reticle here, especially on moving enemies. It can be very finicky. And so I think the Omega attack playstyle is a lot of fun, and it's an easy way to try to beat Kronos on maybe zero fear. But if you're starting to try to push up the fear, it becomes less and less consistent, and you should revert to the baseline basic attack playstyle. Alright, now the other thing to talk about here is the hammers. Now, the Sister Blades have quite a few decent hammers, but the ones I'm going to shout out are, if I can find it, Wicked Onslaught, right? So we just talked about, okay, Secret Crush is really good if it gives us like 7 or 9 base power. That's a huge increase. 20 power, of course, blows that completely out the water, so getting Wicked Onslaught is really good. It's probably the second best hammer on the weapon. Trick Knives is, of course, the best hammer on any of the daggers. Well, except Morgan, which can't take it. And so if you see Trick Knives, you should take it. I probably won't, just because I don't enjoy Trick Knives, but it's definitely the strongest possible option. And then besides that, any of the basic kind of attack daggers will work. The only thing to mention in addition is Sweeping Ambush, right? So if you're particularly a fan of this kind of maybe Omega attack spam playstyle, then Sweeping Ambush gives you 400% damage bonus on the Omega attack, and it makes it in a wider area, which is pretty crazy. So this is really the enabler for that type of build. Alright, so let's take this to 20 Fear. Last time I was talking a little bit of trash about 20 Fear, and then Kronos put it, kind of nearly beat me down. Well, nearly beat me down is maybe an overstatement, but it wasn't the greatest Kronos fight of all time, so let's maybe get a get back. Okay, and so here, even a rare attack will work. Obviously, the higher the rarity, the better, but percentage bonuses aren't as dependent on rarity as flat damage bonuses, just because percentage bonuses don't get multiplied by your global damage boosts. Now, as you can see, we're already kind of feeling the little bit of struggle of playing with the daggers. Our range is not great, and it's very hard for us to stagger multiple enemies at once, and our clear speed is not amazing. Luckily, on 20 fear, that's maybe not that big of a deal. I'm going to just take the center heart for increased health. One thing you can do with the daggers is you can try to use your you can try to prepare your final strike by doing a bunch of attacks. Sorry, my controller appears to have fritzed. Sorry. So as I was saying, you can prepare your final strike by doing a bunch of attacks before the strike goes off, and then you can dash in with your final strike to maybe close the distance and get a nice big hit off. I'll see if I can make it happen, but doing it on demand is maybe not that easy. Now, alright, I apologize for the second interruption. I had controller problems again. Hopefully I have fixed them. Alright, the hammer is a pretty big deal for us, so of course we're looking for Wicked Onslaught, and we get it, so normally I would take something else to kind of show a more average run, but I think Aspect of Artemis is a weapon that a lot of people don't generally believe in for good reason, so I really do want to show it off at its maximum power. So this 20 power is a big deal, right? Our normal strikes on Aspect of Artemis are going to deal either 20 or 10 damage, and so this is somewhere between a 100 and 200% damage increase, and it gets multiplied by our big Aphrodite bonus, so it's pretty considerable. I like Demeter, so I'm going to take her, right? The ability to freeze our opponents is going to be a big deal for us. So this is, we can finally use our thing, so we get a bunch of crit, and then as you can see, with our crit, the mini boss just melts. Now you can also see that it is a little bit awkward, right? One thing I should have mentioned before, because it's maybe the type of thing that you would be curious about, please give me your cast, Demeter, thank you, is that you can't really use this reactively, right? It's very hard to because of the initial load up time. You have to use it proactively, so you have to sort of prepare it, then let your opponent hit you, and then go in for a lot of damage, which I think makes it less fun, but it is what it is. Okay, so we'll just take the maximum armor. More Aphrodite is good. We can see her Secret Crush. More Demeter is of course nice. I'm going to take Aphrodite first because I think Secret Crush is a bigger deal, so... Alright, common Secret Crush. We could use Narcissus on this. That could be pretty good. Aspect of Artemis isn't the type of weapon that really needs, a bunch of particular gods, so we don't need to devote our keepsakes to god keepsakes necessarily past the first one. Now, if you are looking for a good second god to take, I would suggest Hestia. Hestia is the other god who can provide considerable power with her infusion move, so she forms a natural fit. And then if you're going for Hestia, then you might as well throw out... you might as well try to get Burning Desire for a good amount of extra damage. None of these are a big deal. Weed Killer is, of course, a pretty big bonus if you're trying to force this Omega attacking playstyle. It's not a big deal if you have the Sweeping Ambush, because, with 400%, you're already kind of set. But if you don't have it, then Weed Killer could be a way to force that, but as is, we don't need it, so we'll just take Arctic Gale. Snow Queen was, the hit there, right, in a way? Oh, it's Arctic Gale common. Ugh, that was a mistake. Okay. Maybe we won't Narcissus? I don't know. One unfortunate fact of life is that we can't sell our boons before we drink from the fountain. I'm not really sure why that's a thing, but it matters here, so that's unfortunate. At least I don't think we can. I can try. certainly. Zeus. Zeus is just good, of course. We have our special open for him, so that's the natural place to put him. As you can see, our freeze cast, I'm not using it that much, but when I do need it, it is nice, right? This is not a weapon that staggers enemies very easily, so freeze is especially useful on it. Okay. Now, one nice thing about starting with Aphrodite as opposed to Hestia, which is, I think, the other natural choice for a basic attack build on the daggers, is that our initial power is a lot more considerable. Okay, we get a good Heaven's Flourish. I rolled there just because I think Blitz is such a major form of excess damage that it is absolutely, like, I would have thrown a couple of rolls there. It's a big difference whether or not we get Blitz or not. Zeus is just that strong. Okay, so I almost misspaced my cast there, but it's fine. These guys are exceptionally annoying, of course, so... And we lost our armor, but that's okay. Do I want the palm or the shop? Palming Heaven's Flourish would be pretty good. Sure. I'm thinking if it's worth it to throw one more roll at this, just because I don't think we need that much more. Sure. Yeah, so 160 to 190 is a pretty big deal. Just because, again, that gets multiplied by both Origination and the Furies. So that's a pretty massive thing. So let's try and... There we go, we get our riposte. And then we, of course, immediately phase. Now, Hecate is not the tankiest boss in the world, even with 30% more health. So it's not a huge deal, but... You know, it's not nothing. Now, you can always, if you're not really sure if your riposte is back up, you can check it by looking at the bottom left of your screen. If you see that circle, which is partially filled, that is filling over time, when it is completely filled, that's when your riposte is ready. Or your parry into riposte combo, I guess. Okay, so riposte is ready, so we will attack and then make sure to apply blitz. She teleported out, so we didn't quite get to just phase her in one cycle, but... Alright, okay, that was a little bit of a sloppy end. We took 22 damage that we didn't need to, of course, but it's fine. Alright. As you can see, compared to our Aspect of Circe video, this is a much less safe aspect. Do I want to gamble on Narcissus in the hopes that it hits Secret Crush? I don't need it, since I have Wicked Onslaught. I already have a lot of baseline powers, so maybe it doesn't make a ton of sense. At the same time, I'm not entirely sure that there's anything I really need anymore, so maybe I'll take the gamble. Secret Crush did get rarefied, so just get lucky, kids. I say just get lucky, kids. I feel like I'm probably younger than at least a decent chunk of anybody who watches me. If that's insulting, let me know, I'll cut it out. Okay. The only thing I think we need now is max HP. Just because max HP would be, you know, our survivability is a little bit low. It's the only thing that we really need. Our damage is fine at this point. We don't need anything else. Double Strike could be good. Static Shock from Zeus could be good. But that's it. As you can see, even on our pretty, you know, not very powerful attacks, we're still doing, you know, somewhere in 100 damage, even on our rapid hitting attacks. That's just the power of Wicked Onslaught combined with Flutter Strike, right? We are getting 30, like some, and Secret Crush, so we're getting some 31 extra damage, which means our 10 damage strikes turn into 41 damage strikes. And then those get buffed by Flutter Strike, so or golden, right? On the normal enemies, you really don't need to activate riposte. You can, but it's much more valuable for bosses. It's another reason why the weapon is maybe not as good on high fear, just because it's very much a boss-killing weapon, regardless of which type of playstyle you use, in terms of whether you go for regular attacks or mega attacks. Ares just sucks, so I'm not going to take him. So anyways, as I was saying, it's very much a boss-killing weapon in a lot of ways. So on uh, on higher fear, where the enemy encounters, like the normal enemy encounters, are more problematic, then this is certainly a slightly worse, right? Okay, so we see Zeus for hopefully double strike. I took Trusty Shield there, by the way, just because I think Trusty Shield is probably better. If I'm expecting to take a lot of hits, it's probably more effective max HP. This is not a weapon that needs a ton of magic. In fact, as you can see, even though we do use our magic for our reposts, we haven't really worried about a mana regen bill. We'll probably want to pick one up eventually, but it's really not important because we can deal so much damage without our magic. That said, I'm not going to take Static Shock here just because it would completely prime us out, and that's a little bit annoying. Okay, so I'm going to check our codex because I want to see which boons I have locked out here. If I can get either of these... Okay, so I've locked out Ionic Gain, and then for Hephaestus, have I locked out Tough Gain? I have not, so I'm just going to take Hephaestus' thing. It also gives us some damage reduction, so it is extra survivability, which is nice. We don't need that much. It is admittedly a little bit wasted. Okay, so we did take that hit because I dodged right into it instead of around it. We get Tough Cane Dose, that makes up for it, and as you can see, we're already getting dividends from Trusty Shield. Okay, so maybe this is a fight where I'm actually going to just let them hit and then use the extra crit to go through them, because there was a lot of HP on the field at that point, so... Okay, so... a little bit of a chaotic fight. It shouldn't be a huge deal. Again, as you can see, the dagger's really suffering for their lack of kind of range and ability to room clear, but it's fine. We could consider taking max magic here just to make sure that we absolutely always have enough for our reposts, and I think that does make sense. Okay, so Blitz is probably not going to put up enormous numbers at the end of this thing just because I don't need it to do a ton of damage, so I'm not bothering with it. It is still extremely powerful, so if it does end up being the case that it doesn't look as good as maybe expected, you should still you shouldn't take that too kind of personally. Do I have... Okay, so I could take Aphrodite here. I don't really have an ability to apply weak very consistently, which is one of the big reasons to take her, but I still have Spiritual Affirmation, which could be good. Or I could just take the Heart for the guaranteed hit. Sure. Alright, so at 155 max health and 3 death defiances, we're probably okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go in, and then if I see a good opportunity to try to activate my riposte, I'm going to take it. So we got the riposte. As you can see, it's actually surprisingly sometimes a little bit hard to activate it. It's not a huge deal, but it is what it is. Okay, so there is the drummer, and we probably also have a fair amount of damage on her, so I'm just going to take her out. Okay. So there she goes. I'm just going to go and pick up the drummer again. I'm going to use my riposte on this. So yeah, our damage pretty good, even with a blitz that's maybe not being used to its utmost potential. Now, you might be again looking at this and thinking, this looks okay. Why are you calling this a weak weapon? You have to understand that we did get the ideal hammer for this, right? Without Wicked Onslaught, this would look different. This would look worse. It would probably be doing about 70% of the damage that we're currently dealing, something like that. I mean, we could make up for that by using Blitz more effectively, but, you know, still. Okay. I have Narcissus on. Okay, I'm at full health. One thing you can always check is if you have Narcissus on. If you don't have Narcissus on, then you should check your keepsakes first, and then you should get Narcissus. You should then drink from the fountain afterwards in case you want the Narcissus, and if you have Narcissus on, you should Narcissus first, and then, you know, sorry, you should drink from the fountain first to get the Narcissus bonus and then switch off the keepsake, right? Okay, so again, we're very safe right now, so I'm gonna just take, like, we have enough damage rather, and we're pretty safe. But I'm just gonna take Morris's pin to really try to seal the deal in case we have a bad encounter. It could save that defiance of ours. When you're in doubt on defensive keepsakes, if you're running debt, then you should just take Morris's pins. It does lock you, like, it does count as a debt defiance for strength, so you can't do it on strength builds, but for debt, it's a very powerful choice. Of course, with strength, you do get the added bonus of extra healing, so maybe you could take something like Dora's Onion, right? Just to try to heal back to full, and that's kind of like an extra debt defiance in a way. I do think Morris's pin is better, but, you know, it is, that is hardly weak. So, you know, it's fine that if it doesn't have maybe the optimal keepsake choices. Okay, so we cleared those guys out just to get the armor. So let's use our cast to freeze them so that they're not dangerous anymore. Snow Queen is the hit here. From Hephaestus, we could get his armor boon. I think I'll take Snow Queen. I think as long as I have Trusty Shield, I don't need a ton of armor necessarily. Okay, so let's try to riposte. Now, one thing about this weapon is that it does kind of disincentivize you from using your specials as much as maybe would be ideal, just because your specials do count as a hit. So those 9 crits that you get from Artemis, right, those 9 hits that you get from Artemis, you know, your special does take advantage of, that does use one of those, even though it's not a very damaging move. Hailstorm is the choice here, obviously, especially since we don't have the water yet for Frosty Veneer. Maybe we'll get it, but we don't have it currently. I'm wondering again if that's maybe too much luck, and yeah, sure, let's take Cold Storage. Let's not high roll out of our minds again. Maybe I should record my, like, higher fear runs, just so that I have the ability to get this kind of luck normally. Pom Pom Pom. Yeah, it's 1 extra palm, not really a big deal. So let's just take another Demeter boon. I don't think I've locked out Snow Queen. So Snow Queen is another extra hit that we have, so even more safety. I don't know if Zeus has that much left to offer us anymore. I mean, no. And Hephaestus maybe also is not that big of a deal. We'll take him late if we see him for Heavy Metal, I believe it is. The boon that gives you a ton of armor, right? But for now, I think I'm looking for more, like, things that help my build more than just immediate survival. Like, or rather, not things that help my build, but I'm just looking for, like, I guess my point is that something like Snow Queen, right, is potentially more useful the earlier you get in the run, whereas something like Heavy Metal is giving you the same usefulness, right, no matter when you get it, right? Snow Queen is more useful at the beginning of the run because, of course, when you get Snow Queen early, that's more free hits that you can take, right, because you have more encounters with which to use it. Whereas heavy metal is always going to be the same amount of armor. Sure. Double strike seems like a good hit there. You can always go to these doors in order to find the rewards. I didn't need to there because I have activated the tree, but you know, it's always good to show these types of things. Alright, so a little bit of an ugly room, for sure. Luckily, we have enough defenses that it's not hugely important. Okay. That was bad usage of my cast, hence why I took a ton of damage there, of course. You shouldn't cast and then dash out of your cast immediately. Hasty Retreat's a little bit of dodge. I could do better. Common Hasty Retreat's not that useful. Like an Epic Hasty Retreat's a lot better. I mean, obviously epic boons are better than common boons, but an Epic Hasty Retreat's better because dodge, like, you know, like 10% dodge is more than twice as good as 5% dodge in terms of relative health. You can think of this like the obvious like kind of endgame case is 100% dodge is infinitely more useful than 99% dodge, right? And so that like carries down, right? So small increases in dodge are a lot less impactful than large increases in dodge. Yeah, Nitro Boost is an extra hit. I again stand by the idea that we're really good on damage. Obviously, we could have taken our duo and then, you know, we would be having more damage, but I just realized, okay, so my microphone was blocking a little bit portion of my screen, so I didn't see that, but... Alright, something hit me, please, so I can get my riposte, so I can get my crit. Okay. Maybe not the smartest idea in this room where there's a trillion guys who lay traps, but that's fine. So let's freeze them all. Let's do a bunch of damage. Alright. Hopefully I'm going to lock in. I'm not going to have a repeat of me getting absolutely just annihilated by Kronos again. Okay, annihilate's a strong word. I took maybe twice as much damage as I should have. We already have the hammer we want, so the fact that the second hammer is unaffordable here is not that big of a deal. I don't think Zeus can really give us that much. We can check. Yeah, we're more or less done with Zeus, so I'm just going to take this and then move on. You don't want to take, if you're taking the vow, which locks you out of boons, you don't want to take too many boons from the same god because they can actually offer you sacrifices, and if you get a sacrifice you don't want, but it's the only boon available, then you have to take it, right? So for example, getting a blitz sacrifice here would suck, right? Like a blitz attack sacrifice would be really frustrating. Okay, I should riposte, so we get more damage. Alright. Now with Serbi, as usual, you should try to stay behind him. With the daggers, it's a little bit of a less effective strategy because you have less range, right? So his ground pounds reach a little bit behind him, right? And so let's riposte this. Yeah, you can riposte a lot of things, by the way. You can riposte more things than you'd expect, right? If you're thinking like the riposte only reflects things like that could be reflected by, say, like the coat's block mechanic, then that's actually not true, right? The riposte actually can reflect ground-based projectiles like that. So let's, again, get our riposte. As you can see, getting magic isn't strictly necessary for us. You still want it a little bit because you might as well get the Omega attack if you're going through all of the effort of charging it, but you don't need it. Alright. So, sadly, Echo did not provide us with gift, so we actually have to make a choice now between Moros' pin and Skelly's toot. I'll still take the pin. How much HP do we have? Sure. Again, tankiness is really all we need at this point. It is kind of nostalgic pairing Aphrodite with Artemis. Of course, if you are a Hades 1 vet, then you will remember that they had a very powerful dual boon together, right? And I believe it was called Heartrend. So they were a pretty good combination together. So it's kind of fun getting to, even though Aphrodite is Artemis is not a real god anymore, like in the way that she used to be, it's fun getting to pair them up in their own little way. Okay, so we could take the child, but we've, I think, locked out pretty much all of the useful boons, so there's no point. And of course, if you take the trial, you are inviting the potential for more damage. Alright, I am starting to play better, so that's good. Every time I say something like that, I'm a little bit worried that I'm immediately going to flub like 3 things in a row and take 60 damage, and it's going to make me look like an idiot. But I figure, that's like good entertainment value, and I am putting this on the internet, so entertainment value is, something to strive for, so maybe I should be a little bit less worried and be a little bit more cocky. Okay, so these rooms aren't terrible for us. The rooms which are really bad are the rooms with the money bags. Just because they tend to be fairly far apart from each other, they will shoot in a bunch of directions, you have to go to each of them individually, you don't have a ton of range, the fact that there's a ton of them is problematic. It's still not a big deal, but that is kind of the problem rooms. Alright, we see fodder. I probably should have given a spoiler warning. Sorry, I'll remember to do that next time. Let's just button mash through this. Gigaro's dash is pretty decent, right? Afflicted foes take 30% more from your attack and special. It's not bad, certainly. Of course, at this point, with Aphrodite and Origination and the Furies, we already have like a 200-something% bonus, so taking us from 200-something% is like a times 3 point something, so taking us from times 3 point something to like maybe times 3 point, so like maybe times 3.3 to times 3.6, not a huge deal. Still, not bad. And Gigaro's dash actually deals a pretty decent amount of damage. Like the whole sweep thing can help you clear out rooms noticeably faster. Life tax though is really good, I think. If we do end up making a mess of ourselves in the Kronos fight, then of course life tax can be there to give us a couple extra hits worth of HP. Okay, so unfortunately that time freeze lasted just a little too long, so we did end up taking damage there. As you can see, the money bags are annoying. Honestly, the money bags are among the most annoying enemies in this room. Of course, some builds will struggle more with single target DPS than others, so for those builds, perhaps I think they're called, I'm actually not sure what they call it, but the big muscular guys are more of a problem. Okay, let's keep this PG-13. If I skip this, do I never get to see this again? Do I care? No, thank you. Yeah, it's a shame that happened, in the video. Would have been nice to get to experience that a little bit more privately. But I don't know. I'm not really. I think a lot of queer women are really into Nem. I can't really say she's my type personally, but of course I see the appeal. Okay, so let's get rid of you. And we're in the final room. Okay. Um. Hmm. The double palms, or the boon bag, or the HP. Well, we don't need HP because we're on max health, so I guess we just take the double palms. We could roll here. Maybe try to hit. Do I take the double strike hit? Maybe. I could also roll to try to get blitz again. I don't believe my blitz is that high level. I think it's a risky. I'll just take the double strike hit. It's a pretty decent hit. Alright. And now we go into Kronos' fight. As I said, Kronos kind of put the hands on me the last time I was here, so we're looking a little bit for the get back, but perhaps, we'll see how realistic that is. We'll hop into here for the riposte, and then go for the damage. As you can see, riposte, you really do need, you really are incentivized to use it proactively, right? You run into attacks with it. I'm just going to clear these out. They could be really annoying. Okay, so we actually showed how to dodge that once at least. Okay, so let's riposte, go in. As you can see on our crit strikes, we deal enormous damage. Okay. I thought I'd gotten hit. Well, I got hit there. Unfortunate. Let's, by the way, let him hit us. Buddy, please. When you're playing a normal weapon that doesn't want to get hit, then of course Kronos feels like he's putting in insane work against you. And then when you want him to get hit, then he just starts hanging around, not really doing anything. Ooh, I thought I had dodged that correctly. So again, let's take this. One hit too short to not take that 55. That's a little frustrating. Okay, so we'll run outside of the insta-kill attack. You can parry it, I'm pretty sure, but then I'm also like too scared to do that, so... How about this? The next time he does the insta-kill, we'll try it. Okay, Kronos is again putting the hands on me this time, so... Buddy, please, hit me. Did I not have it charged then? Interesting. Okay, so this is probably not going to end up being a super clean Kronos fight either, but in my defense, I could have sworn I had that charged. Okay, so we have it charged again, so... Buddy, please hit me. Okay, so then there's the doom averted, so just put, try to do as much damage, of course, because you're invulnerable during this time. There we go. Alright, and that was pretty safe. Still not the cleanest Kronos fight, but okay, it's not like 485 damage, presumably. So that was Aspect of Artemis. It is kind of a classic of mine. 272, so not great. Admittedly, I didn't couple those hits, right? The 55 damage hit I took at the end of Kronos' her first health bar, I was like 2 seconds away from not taking it. Maybe I should have still been more conservative and tried to dodge and actually, dodged it to be safe. Well, not maybe, I should have been. And then there was that one repost hit where I guess I wasn't I wasn't parrying, and I thought I was. So that was a little bit annoying. Anyways, right, that's aspect of Artemis, right? The trick to this aspect, if you actually want to use the aspect's abilities, is to essentially rely on all this multiplication, right? Get the extra power. Secret Crush is a great force of it, but Wicked Onslaught, of course, is better. Then multiply that by a big percentage damage boon, and then multiply that by the inherent crit of the aspect, and then suddenly, you will start multiplying all that together, and what was like a 10 damage strike will suddenly turn into like a 400 damage strike. The power of math, right? And I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please maybe consider leaving a like, maybe a comment. If you want a particular guide video, then comment that down below, and I'm usually happy to play most weapons. I think any weapon besides Pan, and please consider subscribing. Thank you and goodbye.